this mess, and Jesus loved me through it. Amen. I had all this junk, and Jesus said, here, I'll take your junk, you take my love. And I get happy. And when I get like that, all I want to do is just like come and be like, here, get you some. Here, get you some. Yeah. And I just want to like get everybody feeling it. So I'm not making fun of you when I say things. It's just, I'm caught up. I'm caught up thinking about the goodness of Jesus and the love that has the power to transform a person like this. Amen. And the people who said amen the loudest know to pass me, just to help y'all out. Real quick, before we get started, let's go to God in prayer. And I like how Marcy started our prayer in the back this morning, so I'm going to start it that way. Good morning, God. I hope our praises made you smile, made you feel these hearts beating and saying, come on, God. Come on, Holy. Come on down. Show up and show out. Let your love fill this place. Let every person in here know how much they are loved and know that nothing can separate them from that love. And let them recognize the power that love is to change their life and every life they come in contact with. Spirit, have your way. In your names we pray. Amen. Amen. So we've been doing this series, I Am a Member. You are now on part 5. Even though it says part 4, trust me, we're on part 5. So let's go through what we've done so far with our pledges. As a functioning church member, functioning, working, able to perform. As a functioning church member, I will give. I will serve. I will minister. I will evangelize. I will study. I told you I was going to ask, did anybody study this week? Woo! Okay.
I studied for school.
Different kind of studying, but we're going to give you points for that. I will study. I will seek to be a blessing to others. I will remember that if one part hurts, every part is involved in the hurt and the healing. I will seek to be a source of unity in my church. There are no perfect people. This means I am not perfect either. I will not be a source of gossip or dissension. I will do all I can to help keep the church in unity. I will not let my church be about my preferences and desires. That is self-serving, also known as selfish. I am a member of this body. I am to serve others. Jesus taught us how to love and serve. I will be like Jesus. I will love. I will serve. Our church leaders need wisdom, guidance, and strength daily. Amen. They need me to pray. My church family also needs prayer. Prayer will help keep this family healthy and give us the ability to help and love others. And when we agree to pray together, the Spirit agrees to be with us. I will pray. I am a member. So today, it's interesting. Today we talk about family. And what does family have to do with church and have to do with Jesus and all this other stuff, right? So it's funny because we didn't look at this before we picked our, what is it, our motto, our slogan, our mission statement, all of the above. Livette, can you move your hair? More than church, family. We picked that 3 years ago when we picked the name Thrive. We want to be more than a church. We want to be family. That's right. And we hadn't had this when we picked that. So maybe that's just Spirit at work and getting us on the right path even when we don't know what we're doing. Spirit showing up and going, here, come on now. So in the Bible, if you look at all the different, from Old Testament to New Testament, there are times in the Bible where Israel in the Old Testament is referred to as the bride. And then God, the Messiah, whatever, holy, is the bridegroom. Everybody know what I'm talking about? You've seen it? Okay, cool. Then we get in the New Testament, and what happens? They start saying similar things about Jesus. So everybody who follows Jesus, that's the bride. And Jesus is the bridegroom. Now, I'm going to go ahead and admit to you right now that as a teenager, I found that very creepy. Because you want me to pray to Jesus, and you want me to love Jesus, and now you're talking about I got to marry Jesus. And at the time, I wasn't cool with marrying anything male. So Jesus is obviously male, and I'm like, no, that ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. I can't do it. Why we got to be married? What's that about? A lot of people take it all literally, but a lot of it is figuratively. These things were used to make people go, oh, so that's how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to love the church the way Jesus loves the church. And then we have to go through, well, how does Jesus love the church? So Paul, our dude for this whole series, Paul writes in Ephesians chapter 5, starting with verse 22. And if you read the Bible, even occasionally, you know most versions of the Bible are very specific to gender roles. So I rewrite texts to have them fit everybody. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22 through 33. If you are married, support your spouse in ways that show you support Christ. Go all out in your love for your spouse, exactly as Christ did for the church. A love marked by giving, not getting. Christ's love makes the church whole. Everything Christ does and says is designed to bring the best out of the church. And that is how spouses should love. No one abuses their own body, do they? No. They feed and pamper it. That's how Christ treats us, the church. What is clearest to me is the way Christ treats the church, and this provides a good picture of how spouses are to treat one another. Love, honor, respect. And then in the first part of chapter 6, Paul gets into the relationship between parents and children. Children, listen to your parents. Y'all want me to go in there and tell them? Children, listen to your parents. And parents, don't exasperate your children. Take them by the hand and lead them in the way of Christ. What does this have to do with being a member? A member of this community. A member of God's church in its entirety. It all goes back to that first little bit. And we can take the word spouse out, and we can put in one another. Support one another in ways that show you support Christ. It comes back to what we've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks. Don't go out in the world talking about I'm a Christian and then let them see you treat people badly. Right? Don't be talking about I follow Jesus. And you do this on Sunday morning. And then on Monday, get out my way. You got to have a sensor tape over you as you drive to your job. Don't do it. Don't say, oh, I follow Jesus on Sunday morning. And then on Tuesday, you look at whoever you live with. Don't even look at me. Don't do it. Because guess what? That's not what the example is. Jesus loved everybody. And everybody is the church. Right? Because they just like to interchange all these words. But basically it's just everybody Jesus met, Jesus loved. And Jesus loved with this love that just wrecked everything. It didn't fit what they had been told. It was going to the edges and getting the people that had been exiled and bringing them back. And do you know that the book of Ephesians, written by Paul, the whole point of that was about reconciling those who had been alienated back to the family, back to Jesus. So what does that have to do with us? Well, now, we got to love one another, right? We talk about it every week. But are there not weeks where somebody coming to church and you're like, oh, great, they're here. Don't lie, it happens. Or you come in and you're just like, I don't really want to be here, but she made me come. And why does she keep talking about being happy in God? I just want to go to Costco, get my junk, and go home. Can this hurry up? Dog, you're laughing because you know it's true. It happens. We come in and it's all about how fast can we get through it? How fast can we do all the steps? And we come in with this in our head. Church looks like A, she'll stand up and make announcements. B, the band will start the music. C, she will probably repeat them more times than I want her to. D, we go into the prayer. E, we go into the sermon. F, we go into the moment of reflection. G, we go into communion. H, they do the offering song. I, they do the closing song. J, we out the door.
Go to lunch.
J becomes go to lunch. Now what happens if you come in one Sunday and everybody in here decides we skip an A through, I don't know, F? What's going to happen to you? Depends. Are you a control freak? Are you an OCD-ish type person? Are you an ADD type person? It depends on your makeup. And it depends on what you're coming here for. When we have our biological family, we don't get to choose them, right? We're just born into it. And at around 6 years old, I was going, I think you messed up. I ain't like none of these. How am I in this family? We even had jokes. People would joke and say that certain members were adopted, that they had to be, or that there was a mix-up at the hospital because they ain't nothing like the rest of the family. How are they ours? And there was this thing I would hear the adults say. They would say at the family dinners on Sundays, when different situations would be discussed, they would say, well, it's different. I'm allowed to talk about you. They ain't. And as kids, we were just like, grown-ups are dumb. You go on and do what you're doing. Now that I'm an adult, I kind of get it. They're yours. Even though you didn't choose them, right? In many cases. And therefore, I can say, they are crazy. No, for real, they are. I can say it. I can say, they don't make no sense. Why can't they just grow up and do right? But you let Sherry say it. If Sherry says it, oh, Katie, bar the door. Because I'm like, hold it. Them's my people. I talk about my people, you talk about your people. And let's don't get confused. But in the world we live in now, many of us don't even associate with our biological families. Due to whatever circumstances, there's this rift. So what happens to us? What happens to people that fit in that category? What happens to the people that have to have a family but don't really have the biological structure to have a family? That's the cool part. And Jesus opens the door for it. Matthew 12:48. They're like, hey, your brothers and mom are outside. They want to talk to you. And Jesus said, who is my mother and who are my brothers? There's that opportunity. Jesus was saying everybody in this room right now belongs. I'm claiming everybody in here is family. Don't start saying that those people are my people. All people are mine. It opened the door for us to be able to go, you mine. And we've kind of done that. If you pay attention to how we've done things, we've kind of just, you my people. And then you're not here. Where are my people at? And you see it in the drag community. You see the drag queens and drag kings post about, oh, that's my drag daughter, that's my drag son. Because they're building something. So maybe a part of the example is to always be building. And if we're always loving everybody the way that Jesus loves us, it's going to build. Because it's that thing where I'm like, here, get you some. You go and you give them your cooties. Not really cooties, but you know. You go and you share this love. And then they're like, I kind of like that. I kind of want that. Where I got to go to be with people like you? Well, come on to the church.
That's right.
Come on with me. Let me introduce you to my family. And then they're like, whoa, wait, what? Your family. And then you go, I mean the people I choose to be in relationship with. The other thing about family, the example, Jesus led. So he claimed all these people. These people followed him. He treated them all like family. They're all my brothers. They're all my sisters. We're all connected. And then he instructed them in what that meant. Love your brother. Love your mother. Love one another. He took them through parables to paint it. To say this is what it's supposed to be like. Doesn't matter if you're born into it or if you're creating it and building it. These are the steps. He led. And we like to say in church communities that it's only the preacher's job to do the leading. I challenge you. Not because I'm the one doing the preaching, but I challenge you to really look. Because when it says love everybody, that doesn't just apply to the preacher. It applies to all of us. And when it said, children, listen to your parents, parents, take your children by the hand and lead them, we can change the wording. And we can say, listen to one another. Don't exasperate one another. But instead, take one another by the hand and lead one another. It means nobody goes alone. It means we're all in it together. It means I hold on to you in your bad times and your good times. And it's like ants when you start trying to drown them with water. They all stick together. And then it's harder for you to drown them with water. And don't do that. That's mean. That's some childish stuff. I did it as a kid. Don't be killing the ants. I sound like Diane. So we have to build our communities. We have to love one another. And we have to lead. Which one is the hardest? The building, the leading, or the loving? Exactly. The loving. Because there's always going to be, just like in family, there's always that one who is going to work your nerve. They going to aggravate you sun up to sun down. And then, you know what you got to do? God, you're going to really have to help me love this person, because if you don't help me love this person, I'm going to jail tonight. You understand me? You know how many times I pray that prayer when I'm at a family gathering? Woo! Jesus, be a fence over my mouth so that I don't get myself in trouble with these folks. I say that prayer here too. The loving is the hard part. And every part of this pledge that we've been through so far is built on that. Love one another. Because when you love one another, you can work together. It's hard sometimes, but you can do it. Love one another, because when you love one another, it makes it easier to pray for one another. Love one another, because as you love one another, it's contagious. And you start building something. Love one another, because as you love one another, it changes you. What was I so happy about when we were singing? I started thinking about that love. The love Jesus gave me. That took my past and said, forget about it. That ain't who you are. This is who you are, because this is who I say you are. That's what love does. So this week is about loving one another again, but it's about believing that we have this ability to love and lead. And we have a responsibility. And if you do have a family structure, be it couple, triples, whatever you got going on, it's your job to teach people what it means to be a member. There was a man named Bob. He was married and had children. He went to church every week. He was faithful. He paid his tithes. He volunteered for every job they asked him to do. He was like, yep, I'll do it. And Bob would watch the young people come in. And he would watch them get real excited about everything that was happening. And he'd see them want to jump in and start volunteering to help. And then he would watch as they would see the flaws in the church family. And they would become discouraged. And they would leave. So Bob took it upon himself. Nobody asked him to. He took it upon himself to begin to be the one that would lead these people. So he would watch. And when a young person would start eagerly getting involved in things, Bob would say, hey, do you have time for a cup of coffee? They would go, they'd have coffee, and Bob would say, the love that we bring in here is also the same love that we receive here. And you need to remember, as you start working and we're growing and you're seeing all of these things, and you start seeing things that you don't feel line up. Remember what Jesus said about the log and the speck. It's in Matthew. And basically what he's saying is, I can't look at you and see your flaws and not realize that I have them too. He said, so as you're getting involved and you're seeing these things, remember, nobody's perfect. But we can pray together and we can work through all the flaws. All of our flaws. Your flaws, my flaws, all of it together. Because as we seek the Spirit comes and says, here, let me help you with that. Here's an eraser. There you go. That's taken care of. Oh, you got something to here you go. Because we've prayed together and we've trusted the love that we share, the love of Jesus, to be enough. Bob was a leader. And a lot of times in our churches, Bob is what we need. We need someone to remind us. We all got messes. And it might look ugly to you. And it might discourage you when you start working with some people and you're like, whoo, they not listening to the preacher on Sundays because the preacher said love everybody and then don't go out and say all them ugly words when you're in traffic, and listen to that girl. But remember, we all have stuff. And we're all in it together. And it's all of our jobs to love, to build, and to lead. And we're supposed to love each other the way Jesus loved the church. With everything we've got, we have to love. The pledge this week. I'm a church member. I will lead my people, family, chosen family, friends, to be good members of this church as well. We will pray together for our church. We will worship together in our church, and we will ask Holy to help us. Let love be the rule of our lives. And all the people said, Amen. Amen.